This probably is the most gruesome case there is on child neglect. David Schonabaum, age 32, is being accused of almost fatal injury to his 6-month-old son by 50 rat bites that almost cost him his life. As we can see from this image, the house was in a very desperate state of neglect, with filth everywhere. Here we can see David Schonabaum on the day of his arrest, when he managed to call 911 after, in his own words, in a later interview with 44 News, when the interviewer asked what happened on the night.
You kind of just walk me through, starting with that night, when this all happened, the next morning you called 911, kind of walk me through what happened.
She checked on him at 11, I guess. So he gave him, positioned his bottle. So he gave it to him.
So do you guys usually not sleep in the room with him at nighttime?
I usually do.
Okay.
So, but from working all day and pure exhaustion, I sat down in the recliner and that was it. I woke up at it was probably about 6:30 or so when I woke up, got the kids ready, the older kids ready for school, like I usually did. I stopped in and went into his room and I seen blood everywhere, and so we took him in there, cleaned him up a little bit, and someone snapped his fingers, and I called 911.
After he called 911, the police entered the room, and what they found was absolutely horrible. This house was in such a state of decay and complete filth. It is unbelievable that kids can even live like this, but they did. Diapers were lying all across the room, on the floor, together with clothing and other materials. Not a good place for kids to be, I suppose. As you can see, the kitchen was not much better. On the channel EWU body cam, you can see the full body cam footage of when the police entered the home and discovered the crib of the baby. Back at home, the police said the baby's crib was about 3 feet away from the bed where his parents slept, in a room that was covered in clutter, half-eaten food, and rat feces. The detective said he observed a large amount of blood inside the baby bed and bobby blanket that were both covered in blood. David Schonabaum told them the house began to have problems with mice and rats at around March, and Thermix was treating the home. The diaper disposal container also had blood smeared all over it, and what appeared to be rodent footprints left in the blood as well. When asked the father how they could possibly allow such horrors to be afflicted on the baby, the adults simply said they did not hear the child crying. This was of course the case, where rats have been living in the home for a long time. The home was overwhelmed with rodents. They said they were trying to get rid of them. But the dad said they think that it started when they started to work on the sewers in the street. Of course, the rats needed to go somewhere. Then he stated, but I think they were like tripping about for a day at least. I mean, these are lots of rats. Before all this occurred, there were many problems with the family. Nothing like this just happens. These are the few instances that happened before the event occurred, where the baby almost died of the injuries from the rats. 2 of the children that left in the house to go to school told the teacher in September the 1st that their toes has been bitten by mice while they were sleeping. Following that, the Indiana Department of Child Services had reportedly visited the home on September the 5th. Police said the DC's past dealings with the family included a claim from 2022 that the child was hurt because of lack of supervision, and the claim of physical abuse was made against David Schonabaum in June 2023. That is only 3 months prior to the event occurred. Officials said a case manager had been visiting the home twice a week since April. The last walkthrough in the home was on September 9th. Officials said Thurman had DC's worker seen the marks on her child's toes, that they were probably just scratches from the bed frame. DC's went over a safety plan with the family and said they would return on September the 14th, which was just a day short since the event happened on the 13th. She added the only reason that we even know about it was because the dad woke up and the baby was covered in blood. The dad, during the trial, failed to show any remorse or took any accountability in court. So where was the mom, the mother, in all of this? Well, it is noted that the mother was not at home when the red bite occurred, but she was held accountable for the horrible conditions in their home. She was sentenced to 4-year imprisonment for the neglect and the horrible situations in the home. The father received 60 years for the failment to provide care for the children like a father is supposed to. And also the aunt who lived in the house with 2 children was charged with charges on neglect. Angel and David Schonabaum had lived with Angel's sister, Delana Thurman, in a home. Investigators said it was littered with trash and had an ongoing rodent infestation. When the officers arrived after the 911 call of the father who discovered the baby, officers with the West Evansville Police Department on September the 13th responded to a call about a baby requiring emergency medical attention at the residence of the family. The caller, of course, later identified as the father, David Schonabaum, told the dispatcher that he awoke to find his infant son covered in blood, and said the boy's fingers appeared to have been chewed off. This is the most horrible case of child neglect, since this is not the first time that something like this occurred, and they were dealing with a lot of visitations by the child care departments of the area. Upon arriving at the scene, the first responders provided emergency medical treatment, stabilizing the baby, and transported him to a local hospital. Soon after arriving, the boy was transported via helicopter to another hospital in Indianapolis for more specialized treatment. It is a wonder that the baby even survived. In the hospital record provided by the police, doctors described the baby as suffering a near-fatal event and required blood transfusion after almost going into shock. Now following is the description of the state of the baby. Viewer discretion is advised. Doctors said the baby has suffered over more than 50 bites to his forehead, cheek, and nose alone. All fingers of the boy were missing, exposing fingertip bones. An Evansville police detective wrote in a probable cause affidavit, the damage to the child index pinky fingers were the most severe. They were missing. The flesh was halfway down each finger. Police found child in the crib in blood, and bites on the face left disfigured. Now going back to the statement of the father in a later interview, where he said, "How could this happen?" the interviewer asked. He just simply said we were poor. We did the best. But this was not the best. So what happened on the day? How could this have happened? He clearly said, on the night, when she checked him and repositioned the bottle, Dad usually sleeps in the same room, but of course, by being so busy with work, the woman was checking up on the baby. He woke up around 6:30, got the kids ready for school, stopped in his room and seen the blood everywhere. He took him, cleaned him up a little bit, saw the bites, and immediately called 911. You don't have to clean him up to see the state of the baby in the crib. This is an ongoing event that went completely out of hand. There is absolutely no explanation you can give to say that this is okay. It is never okay. A jury convicted David Schonabaum the past September on 3 felony counts of neglect of a dependent. He was sentenced in October 2nd to a maximum sentence of 16 years in prison. David Schonabaum was charged with 1 count of neglect of a dependent resulting in serious bodily injury and 2 counts of neglect of a dependent, placing dependent in an endangering situation. His wife was charged with 2 counts of the former and 4 counts of the latter, while Thurman, his sister, facing 2 counts of neglect, placing dependent in an endangered situation. Of course, this does not happen in a day, and we all must be mindful of those who cannot take care of themselves. We need to take care of people like that by putting them on the wall of shame. There is no explanation, just like he said in his own words. How could this happen? He said, we were poor. We did the best. But this is not the best. There are many poor people who take care of their little ones when only one person is working and they have a family of over 10 children. There is no explanation. There is no punishment that is fit for what he caused this young boy to suffer from for the rest of his life. Rats don't just happen to live in your house. All of this could have been prevented by a simple change of mind to be mindful of the little ones.